The fog hung thick over San Francisco that morning, swallowing the Golden Gate Bridge in gray silence. Inside the rehabilitation center, Olivia Hart's footsteps echoed against sterile floors as she made her way to room 312. Catherine Pierce lay propped against white pillows, her body frail but her eyes razor-sharp. 6 months of care had transformed their relationship from nurse and patient into something deeper, something dangerous. "My son is coming today," Catherine said, her voice cutting through the hum of monitors. "I need you both here." Olivia had seen Jonathan Pierce exactly 3 times. Each visit lasted 12 minutes. He wore suits that cost more than her annual salary and looked at his dying mother like she was a business obligation he couldn't quite fulfill. When he arrived that afternoon, the room temperature seemed to drop. He kissed his mother's forehead with the warmth of someone signing a contract. "The doctors give me 2 months," Catherine said without preamble. "The board won't let you keep the company, not after what happened when Emma died." Jonathan's jaw clenched. "Mother, don't. I've changed my will. You only inherit if you're married. If you refuse, Victor Brennan gets controlling shares." The silence that followed felt like falling. "You can't be serious," Jonathan said, his voice deadly quiet. "I'm entirely serious," Catherine turned to Olivia. "This young woman needs security for her siblings. You need a wife. It's simple mathematics." Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. "Mrs. Pierce, I can't possibly—" "Why not? Lucas could finish college. Sophie could attend art school. Think what it would mean." Olivia did think. She thought about Lucas working double shifts, dark circles under his 18-year-old eyes. She thought about Sophie's paintings on cheap paper because good canvas cost too much. "I need time," Olivia whispered. "You have until tomorrow." That night, Olivia stood at her apartment window, watching city lights blur through tears. Behind her, Lucas studied at their cramped table. Sophie hummed while painting in the corner, her talent wasted on supplies they scraped together. The next morning, Olivia returned with her answer. "I'll do it," she said, "but I have conditions." Jonathan stood, fury radiating from every line of his body. "This is insane." "Perhaps," Olivia met his ice-blue eyes, "but we both need something. We help each other for 1 year, then walk away." "What do you want?" "Lucas finishes college without working. Sophie gets proper art education. After 1 year, we divorce quietly. I don't want your money beyond what my family needs." Jonathan studied her like she was a puzzle with missing pieces. Finally, he nodded. "Fine, but understand this, Miss Hart. This is business. Nothing more." "Agreed, Mr. Pierce." 2 weeks later, they stood in a courthouse. No flowers, no music, no guests except Catherine, who insisted on witnessing despite barely being able to stand. The judge pronounced them husband and wife in under 10 minutes. Jonathan extended his hand for a handshake. Olivia took it, feeling the warmth of his skin, and wondered how she'd agreed to marry a man who looked at her like an inconvenient acquisition. That evening, Mrs. Chen showed Olivia to a guest bedroom in the Pacific Heights mansion, far from Jonathan's master suite. "Mr. Pierce thought you'd prefer your own space," the housekeeper said, her tone glacial. Dinner was served in a dining room designed for 20. Olivia sat at one end, Jonathan at the other, miles of polished wood between them. "Ground rules," Jonathan said, not looking up. "We maintain separate lives. My office and the West Wing are off limits. We appear together when necessary, but otherwise don't mistake this for anything real." "And what is it exactly?" Olivia asked. "A temporary solution." His blue eyes finally met hers. "I had my great love, Mrs. Pierce. I'm not looking for another." The words cut deeper than expected. "I understand perfectly, Mr. Pierce. I don't have any illusions." That night, alone in her borrowed bedroom, Olivia stared at the Golden Gate Bridge through floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd sold something today. She just wasn't sure what. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lucas. "Sophie wants to know if your new place has room for her paintings." Olivia typed back, "Tell her it has room for everything." She pressed send and felt the weight of her choice settle into her bones. Down the hall in his private wing, Jonathan stood at his own window, whiskey in hand. Emma's photograph sat on his desk, her smile frozen in time. "Forgive me," he whispered to the image. But forgiveness felt as distant as the fog-shrouded bridge, and just as impossible to reach. 3 months passed like living in a museum. Olivia moved through the mansion's pristine rooms, careful not to disturb anything, careful not to exist too loudly. Jonathan left for work at 6 each morning, returned at 9 each night. They crossed paths like strangers in an expensive hotel until the charity gala. "You'll need something appropriate," Jonathan said one evening, his first words to her in 5 days. He slid a black credit card across the marble kitchen island. "The event is Friday. We're expected to look convincing." Olivia stared at the card like it might bite. "I have dresses." "Not for this, you don't." She wanted to argue, but Lucas had sent photos from his new dorm room that day. Sophie's acceptance letter to the San Francisco Art Institute sat on Olivia's nightstand. She swallowed her pride and took the card. The boutique assistant treated her like royalty once she mentioned the Pierce name. Olivia chose a midnight blue gown, simple and elegant, refusing the assistant's suggestions of jewelry. "You'll need something," the woman insisted. "I'll manage." Friday night arrived too quickly. Olivia descended the grand staircase, her heart hammering. Jonathan stood in the foyer, adjusting his cufflinks. When he looked up, something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. "You look presentable," he said. "You're too kind." His lips twitched. Almost a smile. The car's waiting. The gala blazed with San Francisco's elite. Champagne flowed. Diamonds glittered. Olivia felt every eye tracking her, measuring, judging. There they are. A woman's voice cut through the crowd. She approached with predatory grace, red dress clinging to her curves. "Jonathan, darling. And this must be the little nurse." "Victoria," Jonathan said, his voice flat. "Victoria Brennan," Olivia realized. Victor Brennan's daughter, and, from the possessive way she touched Jonathan's arm, something more. "How unexpected," Victoria purred, her smile sharp as glass. "Jonathan marrying the help, though I suppose desperate times call for desperate measures." "Careful, Victoria," Jonathan said quietly. "Oh, I'm just making conversation." Victoria turned to Olivia. "Tell me, how does it feel knowing you're a placeholder? That you'll never be what Emma was?" The ballroom seemed to tilt. Olivia opened her mouth, but Jonathan spoke first. "That's enough." "Is it?" "Because my father thinks this whole charade is rather transparent. A dying woman's last manipulation. How long before the marriage falls apart and you lose everything anyway?" Jonathan's hand found Olivia's lower back, surprisingly warm through the fabric. "We're done here." He guided her away, his touch lingering longer than necessary. "I'm sorry," he said once they were alone on a terrace overlooking the bay. "Victoria has always been venomous. Were you two involved?" The question escaped before Olivia could stop it. Jonathan's expression shuddered. "Once, a long time ago, before Emma, and after Emma died, Victoria thought I'd turn to her for comfort. I didn't." He leaned against the railing, shadows playing across his face. "I didn't turn to anyone." Olivia studied his profile, seeing past the cold exterior for the first time. "That sounds lonely. Lonely is safe. Lonely doesn't hurt, doesn't it?" He turned to look at her, really look at her, and Olivia felt something shift between them. "Some invisible wall developing a crack. Why did you agree to this?" Jonathan asked. "Really? It wasn't just about Lucas and Sophie." Olivia swallowed. "Our parents died 5 years ago. Ferry accident in the bay. I watched from the shore, couldn't reach them in time. I promised them I'd keep us together. This was the only way I knew how. You carry a lot of guilt for something that wasn't your fault. So do you." The accusation hung in the night air. Jonathan's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about Emma. I know you loved her. I know you blame yourself for whatever happened. And I know you're punishing yourself by refusing to live. You overstep, Mrs. Pierce. Do I? Or do I just see what everyone else is too afraid to say?" They stared at each other, tension crackling like electricity before a storm. "We should go back inside," Jonathan said finally. But as they returned to the ballroom, his hand stayed on her back, and when they danced, required by social obligation, Olivia felt the warmth of his palm against hers, and wondered if the ice was beginning to thaw. The drive home passed in charged silence. At the mansion, Jonathan walked her to her bedroom door. "Another first, thank you," he said, "for tonight. for handling Victoria with grace. I've dealt with worse in the ER. I don't doubt it. He hesitated, something vulnerable crossing his face. Would you like to have dinner tomorrow? Not in the formal dining room. Maybe the garden room, just us. Olivia's pulse quickened. Why? Because I realized tonight that I don't know anything about you. And maybe I should. Okay, she whispered. He nodded and turned to leave, then stopped. The blue dress suits you. Emma used to say that midnight blue was the color of possibility. Before Olivia could respond, he disappeared down the hallway, leaving her standing alone with a racing heart and the sudden, terrifying feeling that she might be falling for her temporary husband. Inside her room, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. The text read, "Enjoy your fairy tale while it lasts. Some of us know where the bodies are buried, and we're not afraid to dig." Olivia's blood turned to ice. Olivia stared at the threatening text until her vision blurred. She should tell Jonathan. But something held her back. Maybe fear of shattering their fragile truce. Maybe pride. She deleted the message. Dinner the next evening felt like stepping onto unstable ground. The garden room glowed with soft light, intimate and warm. Jonathan waited at a small table. No butler, no staff. "I dismissed Mrs. Chen for the evening," he said. "I thought we could use privacy." They ate slowly, conversation flowing easier than expected. Jonathan asked about her nursing training. She asked about building his company. The walls between them lowered, brick by careful brick. "Emma died in a car accident," Jonathan said suddenly, wineglass paused halfway to his lips. 3 years ago, I was driving. Olivia's breath caught. "Jonathan. Black ice on Highway 1. I lost control. She died instantly. I walked away without a scratch." His voice cracked. "How is that fair?" "It's not. But it wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? I was distracted, arguing with her about Victor's latest attempt to undermine the company. If I'd been paying attention, you can't know that. I know I killed the only woman I'll ever love." The words should have hurt. Instead, Olivia felt overwhelming sadness for this man who'd locked himself in a prison of guilt. "You're not allowed to forgive yourself, are you?" she asked softly. "Would you?" "I don't know. But I'd try to honor her by living, not by dying slowly from the inside out." Jonathan met her eyes. "When did you become so wise?" "When I had to raise 2 kids while barely being one myself." He reached across the table, his hand covering hers. The touch sent electricity up her arm. "Thank you," he said, "for seeing me, for not being afraid of the broken parts." "We're all broken," Olivia whispered. "Some of us just hide it better." They talked until midnight, wine-warm and honest. When Jonathan walked her to her room, he paused at the door. "Can I kiss you?" The question hung between them, weighted with possibility and danger. "This wasn't supposed to happen," Olivia breathed. "I know, but it is happening. And I need to know if you feel it too." She did. God help her, she did. "Yes." His lips met hers, gentle at first, then deeper. Olivia felt herself melting into him, 3 months of tension and denial burning away in the heat of that kiss. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Jonathan rested his forehead against hers. "This changes everything," he whispered. "I know. 1 year was supposed to be easy. Nothing about this is easy." He kissed her again, his hands tangling in her hair. "Come to my room." Olivia's heart hammered. "Jonathan, I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. I just want to hold you. I haven't held anyone in 3 years, and I'm so tired of being alone." The vulnerability in his voice shattered her resistance. "Okay." His bedroom was sanctuary and prison. Photographs of Emma lined one wall, her smile a constant reminder. Olivia felt like an intruder, but Jonathan took her hand. "She would have liked you," he said quietly. "She always said I needed someone who wouldn't let me hide." They lay together on his bed, fully clothed, his arms around her. Olivia listened to his heartbeat and wondered how something that felt so right could be built on such complicated ground. She fell asleep there, safe and terrified all at once. Morning shattered everything. Olivia woke alone, sun streaming through unfamiliar windows. Jonathan's voice carried from his office, sharp with anger. "I don't care what it costs, Victor. You're not getting this company." She shouldn't eavesdrop. But Victor Brennan's name froze her in place. The prenup makes it irrelevant. Another voice crackled through speakerphone. Victor. When she finds out about your little insurance policy, she'll leave on her own. She won't find out. Won't she? I have copies, Jonathan. Dated and signed. Proof that you planned this entire marriage before your mother even suggested it. That you manipulated a desperate woman for your inheritance. Olivia's blood turned to ice. You're lying, Jonathan said, but his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Check your desk. Bottom drawer. The documents you thought you destroyed. I had my assistant make copies 6 months ago. Olivia heard drawers slamming, then silence. Then a sound that might have been Jonathan's fist hitting wood. How did you get these? I have my ways. And unless you want your little wife to know she was a pawn from the start, you'll step aside and let me buy you out. 50% of the company, Jonathan. That's my offer. Go to hell. I'll give you 3 days to decide. Tick-tock. The call ended. Olivia stood frozen in the doorway, her world crumbling. Jonathan turned and saw her. The color drained from his face. Olivia, how long have you been standing there? Long enough. Her voice sounded distant, not her own. You planned this, all of it, before Catherine even got sick. Let me explain. Did you know that your mother was dying? Did you manipulate her too? No, I swear I didn't know. But yes, I'd been looking for options. Victor was circling, and the board was losing faith. When Mother suggested you, it seemed like fate. Fate? Olivia laughed bitterly. Is that what you call calculated manipulation? I was protecting my company. By using me. By making me fall for you when this was just another business move. Jonathan stepped toward her. That's not fair. What happened last night? Was what? Real? How can I believe anything about you is real? Because I'm standing here terrified. His voice broke. Because 3 days ago I didn't care if I lost everything, and now I'm terrified of losing you. You never had me, Jonathan. You had a contract, and now that contract is done. Olivia turned to leave, but Jonathan caught her arm. Please, let me fix this. She looked at his hand on her arm, then at his face. The only thing I want from you now is my siblings' education paid through completion. After that, we're done. Olivia, don't. Just don't. She wrenched free and walked away, each step feeling like dying. Behind her, she heard Jonathan say her name one more time, desperate and broken. She didn't turn back. In her room, Olivia's phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Now you know the truth. But there's more. Meet me at Pier 39 midnight. Come alone, or your siblings learn what their guardian really traded for their future. Olivia sank to the floor, her carefully constructed world in ruins, and realized the nightmare was just beginning. Midnight at Pier 39. The fog rolled thick off the bay, swallowing sound and sight. Olivia stood alone near the edge, every nerve screaming danger. Right on time. Victoria Brennan emerged from the mist, red lips curved in triumph. Behind her, a man in an expensive suit. Victor Brennan himself. You, Olivia breathed. The texts. Clever girl. Victoria circled her like a predator. Did you really think this was about love? About fate? This was always about power. I don't understand. Victor stepped forward, his smile cold. Let me explain. Jonathan's mother changed her will 6 months before she got sick. She knew I wanted the company, and she knew her son was too broken to fight me. So she created an impossible condition. Marriage, Olivia whispered. Exactly. But here's what dear Catherine didn't know. Victor produced a folder. Jonathan had already been researching contract marriages. He had a list of potential candidates. Your name was on it. The ground seemed to tilt. That's not possible, isn't it? You worked at the rehabilitation center Catherine was checking out for her cancer treatment. Jonathan arranged for her placement there specifically. He knew you had financial troubles. He knew about your siblings. You were perfect. Desperate enough to agree, noble enough to seem believable. You're lying, am I? Victoria thrust the folder at her. Read it, every calculation, every manipulation. He even had investigators research your parents' death, looking for leverage. Olivia's hands shook as she opened the folder. There, in Jonathan's handwriting, dated 8 months ago. Olivia Hart, nurse, 28, supporting 2 siblings. Parents deceased. Financial vulnerability. Possible candidate for contractual arrangement. Her stomach turned. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to leave him. Victor said simply. File for divorce publicly, make it messy. Once the marriage fails, the will's conditions aren't met, and the company comes to me. And if I don't? Victoria's smile sharpened. Then we release this to the media. Billionaire preys on desperate nurse. Your siblings will know you sold yourself. Lucas's scholarship will be investigated. Sophie's acceptance might be questioned. Their futures will be tainted by your choices. You're monsters. We're business people, Victor corrected, and we're offering you a way out. Divorce Jonathan, sign this NDA, and walk away with $5 million. Your siblings' education guaranteed. No scandal, no shame. Olivia looked at the contract, then at the bay, thinking of her parents drowning while she watched helplessly from the shore. I need time. You have until tomorrow, Victor said. After that, we go public. They disappeared into the fog, leaving Olivia alone with the truth that Jonathan had used her from the start. She walked back to the mansion in a daze. The lights were still on in Jonathan's office. She found him slumped at his desk, surrounded by papers, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He looked up, hope flaring in his eyes. Olivia, I've been going through everything. I can prove Victor is lying. He's not. Jonathan froze. What? I met with him tonight. He showed me your research. The folder with my name, dated 8 months ago. All the color drained from Jonathan's face. Let me explain. You investigated my parents' death. Yes, but you researched my financial situation. My siblings, you picked me like a product off a shelf. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Jonathan? Olivia's voice broke. Because from where I stand, I was a pawn in a game between you and Victor. Your mother was dying, and you saw an opportunity to use both of us. I did research you. Yes, I was desperate and looking for solutions. But when we met, when we talked, everything changed. I didn't expect to care about you. I didn't expect to feel anything ever again. How convenient that you started feeling something right when it benefited your situation. Jonathan stood, his movements sharp with frustration. That's not fair. You know what we have is real, do I? Because 1 night ago, I thought I knew you. Now I don't know what's true and what's performance. This is Victor manipulating you. Can't you see that? I see clearly for the first time. Olivia placed the divorce papers on his desk. They're giving me an out. $5 million. My siblings' futures secured. No scandal. Jonathan's expression crumbled. You're leaving. Why shouldn't I? You used me. Just like they said, because I love you. The words hung in the air, desperate and raw. Olivia felt tears streaming down her face. You don't get to say that now. Not when everything between us is built on lies. It started as calculation. I won't deny that. But it became real. You became real. This terrifying, beautiful thing that I never expected to feel again. Jonathan moved around the desk. I love you, Olivia. And yes, I'm broken and damaged and I made terrible choices. But I love you. And I think you love me too. It doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. No. Olivia wiped her eyes. What matters is Lucas and Sophie. What matters is protecting them from scandal and shame. What matters is that I can give them the future they deserve without tying it to your complicated, manipulative world. They want to destroy me. If you sign those papers, I lose everything. Then you lose everything. Olivia's voice hardened. You taught me that life isn't fair. That sometimes broken people hurt each other even when they don't mean to. Well, you broke me, Jonathan, and I'm choosing to save what I can. She turned to leave, but Jonathan's voice stopped her. What if I give it to you anyway? Olivia turned back. What? The company. Everything. Sign it over to you before the divorce is final. Let me prove that this isn't about money or control. Let me prove that the only thing I care about protecting now is you. You're insane. Probably. But I'm also serious. He pulled out papers, scribbling frantically. I'll transfer controlling shares to you. You can do whatever you want. Give them to Victor. Burn the whole thing down. I don't care anymore. Jonathan, stop. I started this by treating you like a transaction. Let me end it by giving you real power. Real choice. He held out the papers, his hand shaking. Take it, take everything. Just please don't walk out believing that I never loved you. Olivia stared at the papers, at the man offering to destroy himself to prove he was telling the truth. This doesn't fix what you did. I know, but maybe it's a start. Before she could respond, the office door burst open. Mrs. Chen stood there, her face pale. Mr. Pierce, it's Catherine. The hospital just called. She's taken a turn. They don't think she has much time. Jonathan and Olivia stared at each other, all their anger and pain suspended by grief. Go, Olivia said quietly. She's your mother. Go. Come with me, please. She shouldn't. Every logical part of her screamed to walk away. But the broken look in his eyes, the genuine fear of losing the last person who loved him unconditionally, shattered her resolve. Okay. They rode to the hospital in silence, hands clasped tightly, both knowing that whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. Catherine Pierce looked smaller than Olivia remembered, swallowed by machines and white sheets. But her eyes, those sharp eyes, still held fire. I heard you two have been causing drama, she whispered, her voice paper-thin. Jonathan gripped her hand. Mother, save your strength. For what? I'm dying, Jonathan. Let me use what's left to fix what I broke. She looked at Olivia. Sit, child. Both of you. They sat on opposite sides of her bed, the space between them an ocean. I manipulated you, Catherine said. Both of you. And I'm not sorry. Mother, hush. Let me finish. She coughed, pain flickering across her face. I was dying and my son was dying with me. Different deaths, same result. I looked at you, Olivia, and saw someone who understood sacrifice, someone who could reach the parts of him I couldn't. You used me, Olivia said quietly. Yes. And if I had to do it again, I would. Because look at him. She gestured weakly at Jonathan. For 3 years he was a ghost. Now he's alive again, angry and messy and hurting, but alive. That's worth any manipulation. She deserves better than being a tool in our family drama, Jonathan said. She deserves choice, Catherine corrected. Real choice. Not the desperate one I forced on her. She looked at Olivia. The company can go to Victor for all I care now. I changed my will last week. Everything goes to Jonathan regardless of marriage status. I lied about the conditions. The room went silent. What? Jonathan breathed. There was never an inheritance clause. I made it up to force you together. Victor has been chasing shadows. Catherine smiled weakly. I gambled that if you spent time together, nature would take its course. I was right. Olivia felt the ground shift beneath her. All of this was for nothing? Not nothing. Look at what you found. Catherine's eyes filled with tears. Love isn't nothing, child. It's everything, even when it's complicated and painful and built on imperfect foundations. She's leaving me, Jonathan said, his voice breaking. Because I researched her before we met. Because I planned and calculated instead of just feeling. Did you plan to fall in love with her? No. Did you calculate those feelings away? I tried. God knows I tried. Catherine turned to Olivia. And you, child. Did you plan to love him? Olivia's tears spilled over. No, I wanted this to be simple. 1 year and done. But he's broken and infuriating, and sometimes I want to shake him. And sometimes he looks at me like I'm the only thing keeping him tethered to earth, and I don't know how to walk away from that. Then don't. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Catherine's grip tightened on both their hands. Life is short. I'm living proof. Don't waste it being angry about how something started. Focus on what it became. A monitor beeped urgently. Nurses rushed in. Jonathan was pushed back as they worked, his face stricken with fear. Olivia found herself reaching for him, their hands clasping instinctively. 20 minutes later, Catherine Pierce died with her son holding one hand and her daughter-in-law holding the other. The funeral was intimate. Lucas and Sophie came, standing beside Olivia with quiet support. Victor and Victoria attended, their expressions calculating even in grief. After everyone left, Jonathan stood alone at the graveside. Olivia watched from a distance, unsure if she belonged there. Your siblings are nice, a voice said beside her. She turned to find Victor Brennan, his expression unreadable. Stay away from them. Relax. I'm not here to threaten anyone. He handed her an envelope. Catherine gave this to my lawyer 3 weeks ago. Instructions to deliver it after her death. Olivia opened it. Inside was a check for $5 million made out to her, and a note in Catherine's shaky handwriting. For your choice, whatever it is, and for showing my son how to live again, you owe me nothing now. The debt is paid. She played all of us, Victor said, almost admiringly. There was never an inheritance clause. She just wanted to make sure Jonathan remembered how to feel something. Clever woman. Why are you telling me this? Because she was right. And because I'm tired of fighting. He glanced at Jonathan's solitary figure. He loved my daughter once. Did you know that? Before Emma. Victoria never forgave him for choosing someone else. This was always her vendetta more than mine. And now I'm done. The company is his. The fight is over. Victor met her eyes. Don't break him, Olivia. He's barely held together as it is. He walked away, leaving Olivia standing with Catherine's final gift. She approached Jonathan slowly. He didn't turn, but his shoulders tensed. I know you're there, he said. How? I always know when you're near. It's like gravity shifting. He finally looked at her, eyes red-rimmed. Are you going to leave? I don't know. Fair enough. They stood in silence, watching the sun set over the Golden Gate Bridge, painting the sky in shades of fire and possibility. I researched you because I was afraid, Jonathan said quietly. Afraid of feeling anything ever again. Afraid that if I opened myself up to possibility, I'd lose everything like I lost Emma. So I tried to control it, contain it, make it safe. And I failed? Because you're not containable, Olivia Hart. You're messy and real, and you see through all my walls. And that terrifies me. Good. He looked at her surprised. Good, she repeated. Because I'm terrified too. Terrified that this feeling is real. Terrified that I'll wake up one day and realize I imagined the connection. Terrified that loving you means losing myself? Does it? Mean losing yourself? Olivia thought about Lucas in college, thriving. About Sophie's art blooming in proper classes. About Catherine's check burning in her pocket, offering freedom. No, she said slowly. Loving you means finding parts of myself I didn't know existed. The parts that aren't just about survival and sacrifice. The parts that want something for themselves. What do you want? She looked at him. This broken, brilliant, infuriating man who had turned her world upside down. I want to try. Not for your money or the company or any logical reason. I want to try because when you kiss me, I forget why I was angry. Because when you look at me, I feel seen. Because complicated and messy is better than safe and alone. Hope flickered in Jonathan's eyes. Are you sure? No, but I'm choosing it anyway. He pulled her close, their foreheads touching. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. What about the year contract? Catherine just gave me $5 million. I don't need your contract anymore. If I stay, it's because I choose to. Every single day. And if you wake up one day and choose differently, then I'll tell you. No more lies. No more manipulation. Just honest, terrifying truth. Jonathan kissed her then. Deep and desperate, and filled with promise. Around them, the fog rolled in, wrapping them in gray silence, hiding them from the world. When they finally broke apart, Olivia smiled through her tears. Take me home, she whispered. Where's home? Wherever you are. They walked back to the car hand in hand, two broken people choosing to be broken together. Behind them, Catherine's grave stood silent witness, the flowers already beginning to bloom. 6 months later, Lucas walked across the graduation stage, his engineering degree earned through hard work and opportunity. Sophie's paintings hung in a small gallery, critics calling her a talent to watch. And in a garden overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, Olivia and Jonathan renewed their vows. Real ones this time, with flowers and music and tears of joy. Ready? Jonathan asked as they stood at the altar. Terrified, Olivia admitted. Good. Me too. They kissed to the sound of applause, and Olivia thought about contracts and choices, about manipulation and love, about how the most beautiful things often grow from broken foundations. Life wasn't a fairy tale. It was messy and complicated, and sometimes people hurt each other even when they didn't mean to. But it was also real. And real, Olivia had learned, was worth more than perfect. As the sun set over San Francisco, painting the sky in shades of gold and fire. Olivia Hart Pierce stood with her husband and her family and knew that sometimes the best endings are the ones you fight for, the ones you choose. Every single day. The end.